Hello everyone, I'm Sébastien. I hope you are enjoying the Odoo experience so far. This last day has still a lot to offer to you. It started just before with Damien, with the new features with the multi-company, intercompany rules. And now we are talking about the expense. So if you are here, it's because the room with Fabien is completely full, or because you partied too hard yesterday and you want to sleep at the back,
Yeah.
or maybe because you have an interest in the expense application. So just to have a quick idea who is in the room, do we have any accountant in the room? Can you raise your hand? Okay, do we have a salesman? No. Yes, a consultant maybe? Okay. Okay, some consultants. So if you are developer are in the room? No, no developer? Yes, one developer. Okay. So if you are here today, it's because all those people are involved in the process of expense in a company. So and it's because you want to see how Odoo can help you to manage the expense in your company. But first, let me start with a personal experience. Before working at Odoo, I was working in Congo, DRC. I was in charge of the IT, and I had to make all the purchases related to the IT. So I had to buy new laptop, printers, etc. Usually, we were making all our purchases in Europe because it was more convenient. We are a lot of choice online with Amazon and other shops. But I recall this time our warehouse manager had broken his laptop and I had to buy a new one. Okay, so I recall exactly, it was a Friday, end of the month, close to the weekend, so I need to party during the weekend. So I went to the city to find a good laptop for him. After a while, I find one with a good setup, and after a lot of bargain with the vendor, a good price. So I made the purchase. It was around $500. Then I come back to the company to make all the setup of the laptop, installation of several softwares and hardware as well. I'm sleeping already before you. So I make the purchase, I come back to the office, and because I'm still a kid, I want to start with the laptop before doing exactly the expense. So it was already afternoon when I start to create exactly the exact expense to present it to my manager to be refunded after. Okay, so it was too late for me because the process in the company was you had to grab a piece of paper, write the purchase, the date, the amount, etc., then attach the ticket of the vendor and put everything in a signatory. But it was already too late, the signatory was already in the office of the manager. I didn't want to disturb him with a new expense to submit. So I had to wait Saturday. Of course, in Congo, as you know, we are working on Saturday as well, so the party was for Saturday night. But it was also the end of the month, and the next day when my expense was approved, everybody in the company was at the cashier to get their money. It was paid. So once again, I said, I can wait there, I have to go back to work and I will come back later. Of course, later it was too late, the cashier was already left. So I go back home without my money, so no party this weekend. What I want to explain to you with this example is expense can be a process quite boring. It's time consuming, it's not task really billable for the company. And as Fabien said during his previous talk, at Odoo we are trying to become a paperless company, and also employees are losing some time with administrative work. I do not recall it exactly. It was between 10 and 20% of the time of each employee they are doing administrative tasks. So we want to reduce this time. So I will show you, that was the big picture of the expense. I want to show you how in Odoo we can manage the expense. So as I said earlier, expense are time consuming, it's an administrative task, and we use paper to make them generally. People involved. So we are of course the employee. The important part for the employee is to be reimbursed, it's not to make the administrative task. The manager, he has to control all the expense. The accountant has to pay the employee and post journal entries related to the expense. And sometimes you also have the salesman who will bill the final consumer. Okay, so the employee create the expense, attach a file, and submit the expense. With Odoo, the employee has three ways to do that. He can do that with his laptop. So in the app expense, he can add easily a document to his expense. Or if he's on the go, he can grab his smartphone, take a picture of the ticket here for a meal, for instance, and send it by email to a specific email address. I will show you how to do that after. Okay, the subject is specific. You have to put the product code, small description, and the price of the product or the expense. The third way is to use the app Odoo, the native application Odoo, and you can directly in the application create the expense and attach a document related to the expense. Okay. So it's easy when you are on a mission or something like that. It's really easy to create a new expense. The manager can check the expense also directly from his laptop. If it's not at his office, he can check also all the expense. He doesn't have to check them manually or on paper. Here are some example of expense to approve for the manager. The accountant, as I said, will do the final decision, generate the accounting entries, and reimburse the employee. Also, the salesman will create also a bill for the final customer. So I will show you that in a demo just right now. So let's start with full flow. So we are in a company. I'm Mary, the saleswoman. Okay, I have a new opportunity with a client. We want a website. So the customer is, let's say, Momentum, and she expects a revenue of 10,000 euros. Okay. She will create a new quotation for that client, and let's say I will show you also the new section with Odoo, so we can create an ISO with first section websites, products, mockup, section. The client also want e-commerce. I can add a product requires management, and finally MISC. And some on-site consultant. So when she is creating the deal with Momentum, the customer, she said, okay, a consultant will come to you on your site to make some consulting, take pictures of the company to illustrate the website. So she can add some terms and conditions. For instance, she can say travel expense will be charged separately. Okay. So she will send it to the customer, and let's imagine that the customer approves this sale order. Okay, so now we will switch between the user, the consultant John is the consultant, we will go to this client, Momentum, and he will have to create some expense. Okay, so first he has to book his ticket to Paris, so he will create a new expense, Thalys ticket. You can of course create several products for the expense. Here is the generic product expense, and I know the price was this one, and I can link this expense to a sale order. So here the sale order was the SO number 2 for Momentum. Okay, I can save it and attach a document. I have here a ticket, a Thalys ticket, so you can see the price, 143 euros. So that's the first expense that you can create, the first way. The second way to do that, I forget my wallet, of course. Up. So John is going to Paris and he has to take a taxi. And I have my ticket just right here. I will just take a picture of that ticket. It's not really a ticket of taxi, but it will work. And I can send it by email. So to present you the email address, in the configuration of the app expense, here I'm the manager, so I can check the configuration. In the settings of the app expense, I have this email alias. So I can send an email from here. Expense. Okay. The subject is taxi, and I put the price. So the subject is the name of the expense and the price. Yeah. And I send it. We will see in a minute that the expense is created directly in Odoo. And the last way to create that is also not with my email, but directly with the app Odoo. So I have the app Odoo installed on my smartphone. I open it and I create a new expense. This expense will be the restaurant, for instance. So I create the expense, and now I can directly attach a document from the application. So you have several options. Take a photo, take the image from the drive or something else on your smartphone. Here I will take a picture again. This photo. Okay. So now when I come back after my mission, I come back to my expense report. I will refresh the page. Okay, sorry. Because sorry, I didn't really create the email address of John the consultant, so the emails arrive just here. I will just change the employee and put John consultant. So I go back to John, I refresh. Okay, so now I have the taxi ticket for John which is directly attached to my expense. I can create a report and the report will be mission to Paris. And I can, so I have first the taxi, I can attach the Thalys tickets and also the lunch. And I will submit it to the manager. Okay. Let's change again. Let's do Mark, the manager of John. He also has access to the expense app. And he can go to the expense report to approve. Okay. So there he can see the expense report from John. He can open it, and he can see all the expense related to the trip. And he can approve everything from there. Or check the journal and the expense if he wants. If he wants to ask more information, he can use the chatter right here. Explain me why the lunch is so expensive. Okay. And John will get the message, the memo, and he can answer directly there. And finally, you have next the accountant, Jane, also has access to the expense app and can go to the expense to post first. Okay, she can post the journal entries from there. She can open the all expense if she wants to, post the journal entries, and finally register payment. Let's say that's a bank payment method of the good amount. And there everything is paid. Okay, so as mentioned in the first window, with Mary, the saleswoman, who said that travel expense will be charged separately. So now if I create the invoice related to this sale order, I can see here the expense of John, the Thalys ticket. It is automatically added at the bottom of the sale order. Okay, so she doesn't have to ask to John, did you have any expense related to this sale order? Everything is automatically done. And she can of course validate the invoice. Okay, so it is for the demonstration. Okay. So conclusion with let's open that. Conclusion. So with expense in Odoo, it's fully integrated. It's really user-friendly. You can see you have a lot of options to create an expense with your mobile or on your desktop. It's really trackable. You can see all the flow between all the people involved in the process. It's really time efficient and no paper needed. Everything is on your database. Okay, if you have any question. Yes?
In previous versions, it was not possible to have several tax codes on a single ticket, because most of the time when you go to the restaurant, you will have wine at a specific rate, different from food.
It wasn't possible?
Yes.
Now you can create.
I mean, it wasn't possible in the mobile app.
In the mobile app. So now on the mobile app, you can choose here, if I up. So you can add the description here and select the product, and you can configure every product that you want with specific taxes on them.
Can you choose the analytic account in the mobile app?
In the mobile app, let me check. I think so. Yes, it's totally possible.
And can you rotate the documents?
Yes. Wait. We'll create a new one. here when you have the screenshot, you can rotate from there. Or the question, yes?
Do you have a spam filter for emails coming in the inbox of the expenses at?
A spam folder?
Something like this? Automatic enlargements?
No, but I think that only the email coming from the email written here will arrive in the folder.
Okay.
So if you are not John or not one employee of the company,
some bots are very clever because of this. Maybe the inbox can be very full.
yes, I don't know. I have to try and maybe check with the security department. I'm not sure. Yes.
Yeah, just maybe a stupid question, but I suspect that for legal or regulatory compliance, the original documents still need to be filed in the accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it legally accepted to use those scanned documents
I think
instead of this
By localization.
Excuse me?
Localization.
yes,
Every country is
rules,
different.
country rules and things like that. What is the status on that?
I think in Belgium it's allowed to have just a picture of a scan. In the other countries, in Holland as well.
Finland, yes.
In Finland as well. So
I mean, the principle is absolutely great.
sorry.
So the principle and the way to do it is absolutely great.
Glad to hear that. No more question? Yes.
Maybe in future versions, they're not ID to use your new OCR system for these tickets and
It
so
will
on.
be for the next version.
The next version,
Probably because OCR is in alpha mode, so
Yeah, sure.
maybe the next one. Do we have still some time? It's also, you can also link the expense to a project. So I will open one bot and show you that quickly. So last version. Oh, 5 minutes? Okay. So you can also link the expense to a project. So here, if I create a new project, let's say office party. Okay, I add a new column and I create a new task for the drinks example. So automatically, if I go to the settings of my project, I can see that I have an analytic account created automatically. So I can save that, and if I create an expense related to this analytic account, here I create a new one. Let's say the drinks, general expense, and you can add my analytic account. It was office party. Okay.
You have to pay that.
Yes, sometimes. So $100. I can attach whatever the documents. Create a report, submit, approve it. Okay, I make quickly all the flow. The important thing is when I go back to my project, office party. So I have the drinks, and I can also see the project cost and revenue for the project. So if I add one more column, now I have here office party with my expenses register here. So it's also a good way to track the cost of your project. You can add the analytic account on your expense and track all the costs related to the project. Really easy. That was the main features of the app expense. So, and as mentioned, we are still improving it with the OCR documents and all the apps. No more question? Thank you very much.